Every instrument in the world creates sound in some way.
And we're going to teach you how to make those sounds in an organized fashion.
Music theory for the real world. We've been talking about how to be able to play an instrument in 5 minutes or less. Learn your way around the instrument and then manipulate it in such a way that you could play a tune on it. So far, we've talked about subtractive instruments, or instruments that have the full length as their fundamental, and then you find out what the thing is that vibrates, and you learn the harmonic series, how to play the harmonic series on it. And then if you make the tube, the pipe, shorter, then you can change that fundamental pitch, and that way you can play a basic melody instead of just harmonics. I call these subtractive instruments, in that the basic fundamental pipe is made shorter in order to change the pitch. But there are also additive instruments in which we take the basic fundamental pipe itself and we make it longer. That would make sense. So if we had a 8-foot section of PVC pipe and we said, oops, I thought that would make an A. It doesn't. It's too high. Let's see. I need to make it longer. I can't make it longer. Oh, what if I slipped a sleeve over the end of it and extended that? All I have to do is contain the standing wave within that tube for 10 feet, and then once it gets released, it will be creating the basic fundamental of an A instead of around a C or so that I had with an 8-foot pipe. So that's great. So now I can, in fact, I could slide that back and forth and adjust the length. And sure enough, that's what a slide whistle does, or it's what a trombone does. A trombone, the thing that vibrates is the lips, and because there are certain resonant standing waves that get created within the pipe, it's about a 9-foot section, that trombone, and therefore it's a B-flat basic pitch that's created. You get a low B-flat, you've got an F and a B-flat and a D, and then you can just extend the slide out by enough to make it an extra half step lower, about 4 inches or so, and then you can go another half step lower, and you can slide in between the notes. Or what a trombonist will do is just find out by feel. It's like playing a fretless bass, like you just find where that, what they call position, is, so as to create that particular length that will make it easier to play that particular pitch.
What about a French horn? You have valves. Aren't we using those valves in the same way that you were using that flute?
I want to show you what happens when you push down a valve. We'll use a trumpet as an example.
All right.
So if you were to measure this pipe all the way from the beginning to where it comes out the bell, you'd find it to be just a couple inches less than 5 feet long. All right, so just a little less than 5 feet tells you, if it was exactly 5 feet, this would be...
We would have an A.
We would have an A.
Is what I discovered.
And it's intervals above that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it being a little less than 5 feet by a couple of inches.
So if it was a little bit longer, the pitch would go down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if it starts at like 410, I have a B flat. I could make the pitch lower by simply moving out the tuning slide right here. They're all made with one of those. So now I can take my B flat and make it an A trumpet if I pull that out the right amount. Or I can add a couple of inches to it a different way by pushing down this valve. The one in the middle causes the air's been going around like this, goes right straight through the valves and comes out this way. Instead, it goes around this extra little spot right here when I push the valve down. So that adds a half step worth of tube, which makes it go half step down. Okay, so all right, this one adds more. adds.
Looks like it'd be about a
So it lowers everything by a whole step.
Whole step.
Half step, whole step. Guess how much this adds?
A minor third.
Yes, a minor third. All right. How much would this add? 1 and 2.
A major third.
Also a minor third. Also a minor third.
Half step and a whole step.
What would this be?
That'd be a major third.
Major third. What would this be?
That'd be a perfect fourth.
And what would this be?
A tritone.
Tritone. So, and once you get that far down, you're to another open note that you don't even need.
Like we just
the
blow a little
valves
bit
again.
harder, and it pops up that fifth.
Yeah. So I can play the whole chromatic scale if I just know what each of these valves do. That doesn't mean I'm going to be able to play in the symphony.
No, in fact, you won't.
But it does mean I could
Sure
figure out a scale by knowing the harmonic series, knowing how to make the initial pitch, and know how to change the basic harmonic series that's happening. Then could play a chromatic scale, could play diatonic scale. Sorry. So we talked briefly about an idiophone. That's not really something you can change the pitch of. You just discover what it is, and then you create others idiophones that are the right proportion to the initial one, and you can create something that way. But then we talked about aerophones. By some means, you excite air in order to then go through some kind of a size tube, which locks in certain resonant frequencies that once it creates that standing wave, then it makes that pitch. And then from there, you either subtract the length of the vibrating tube or you add to it. So a subtractive instrument or an additive instrument. So we could invent an instrument, as a matter of fact, something that's never existed before, and all we have to do is just like find where the harmonics are and find our way around it and see what we can play. Let's try that.